The views and comments expressed on the following radio program by its hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of rmconair.com or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Urban Autism Network. My name is Tiffany Turner Dukes.
And my name is Miko Hester Perez.
And today our show topic today is going to be about bullying and autism, as well as IEPs. What those are about, and we also have a couple of callers that are going to share their experiences with IEPs. But in the meantime, do you have any news to share with us today, Miko?
Well, I wanted to talk about a conference that I went to last year. It was the Autism One Generation Rescue Conference 2012. And I absolutely enjoyed myself at this conference. It was kind of a meeting of the minds, seeing moms, and that's how I met the Thinking Moms.
Okay.
As well as all the other warrior moms that I speak with that are on my Facebook. Mm-hmm. But this year, they're having Robert F. Kennedy Jr. come speak.
Wow.
And this completely breaks my heart because the Kennedy family is their legacy lives in my home. I always talk about how Eunice Kennedy has played such a huge part in the reason why I give back to the community. Mm-hmm. But if you have the chance and you're in Chicago, you should definitely go to the Autism One conference. It opens the door. I mean, they talk about nutrients, mm-hmm. ABA, you name it. Mm-hmm. And it's the most comprehensive conference that I've seen, across the board.
Wow.
I'm really, very, very sad I can't go. I need to stay home with Joey this mm-hmm. year and take care of him. Mm-hmm. But I hope, they'll have a CD and have information. I know the Thinking Moms will send me Kelly Peters and Jenny Webster and Kate Whalen. Yeah, they'll go ahead and, send me pictures via the Facebook and mm-hmm. kind of, keep me up to date on what's going on. But I definitely think as a parent of a child on the spectrum with unconventional therapies, mm-hmm. this particular conference is like a must. It's like on a bucket list, mm-hmm. Get to this conference. And so, it's something that I think, and it runs from May 22nd to the 26th. Okay. And in Chicago, Illinois, I believe you can just go to the autism1.org website. Mm-hmm. And just for me, along with another website, Age of Autism, have really been very helpful to me mm-hmm. When it comes to thinking outside the box. Okay. And so it's definitely a resource to keep under your belt.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And that Autism News, if you are in the Chicago area or if you can travel to Chicago May 22nd through May 26th.
That's correct.
You don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
It's a must go. Unfortunately, May is one of my really busiest months. May and also June are mm-hmm. like my busiest months. I will probably be in Vegas at that time. Yeah.
Must be nice.
It's not all leisure. It's mainly business. The other endeavors that I have going on. Of course it is Vegas, though. I'll find some leisure in there somewhere. But that is my Vegas time. And also I have a spa day in between planned to go to.
Well, call me on that spa day, and I'll jump in my car and take that 4-hour ride.
Yeah, you will. You will. You will. Have you been to the Red Rock Resort?
Actually, I hate to even say this, but I have not been to Vegas in about 5 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we got to fix that. That's no bueno. No, Vegas is like my second home, but when I go, it's not about, people just get so caught up in the hype of the partying mm-hmm. and stuff. But for me, I like to do things like well, other, of course, shop, you know, but really, like I said, I'm a resort. I love 5 stars and I love spas, and I love to stay at like really nice, posh and chic venues that actually have spas that are just amazing. And the Red Rock, first of all, just being at the Red Rock, okay, it's like being at the spa. Like when I go to Arizona, where it's really, you know, cactuses and lots of land and lots of heat, but they have the Elizabeth Arden Red Door Spa that is fire.
Okay, well, I need to step my spa game up, obviously.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, we're gonna have to just, you know, it's hard, you know, but you do have to pencil some you time in. And speaking of you time, you look good. I mean, it's only been 7 days since I've seen you, and I'm like, okay, don't disappear on me. You know, you when I saw you pull up and you jumped out the car, and I was like, what is going on? And so this kickboxing and this hot yoga we discussed last week seems like it's really doing it.
You know, I have to credit Mike Tomaselli over at the Tomaselli Academy in Costa Mesa, because the one thing that I really love about him is that he'll text me and say, Miko, you know, you better come in, or Miko, and he'll give me jokes, or he'll send something, you need to do these stretches, or he's really on top of things. He gives me that custom, but not only that, we're friends. And most of the time when we're in there, I have no idea that, you know, I'm actually working out as hard as I am, because he's really good. So, you know, thank you, Mike Tomaselli, over at the Tomaselli Academy, MMA fighters. Okay, now, really, for me, that's the best part. I'm in there, and it's not that I even notice that I'm working out, because I'm looking at the MMA fighters across from me, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, this is the way all moms should work out, you know. So it's not only inspiring, but when you have someone who's such a great trainer, you're actually, you know, able to do it without thinking. So thank you for noticing, because, you know, it's I haven't noticed yet.
Well, I mean, I just, like when I saw you walking forward, I was like, okay, really? Like, seriously, I need to step my game up. I know I talked about it, but then, like, I had something that kind of I had a tragedy last week, so it kind of set me back. But either way, I still need to, you know, because sometimes when you're overwhelmed, you know, with life happening, you know, working out makes you feel better.
Yeah, and actually, I've been speaking with Mr. Tomaselli about actually providing classes. We're thinking maybe June or July.
Really?
Providing classes to families, you know, every Saturday. And I think it's something that we're definitely going to move forward on. You know, you can go back, check my website or find me on Facebook. But because I told him how good I was feeling.
Okay.
You know, I work all day. I'm in and out of courtrooms, law firms. I'm you know, I'm a nerd from like 7 a.m. to to like 3 p.m. You know, and then to have someone, you know, to have a trainer who calls me and keeps me inspired and says, okay, whatever you're doing, you need to breathe in and breathe out. You know, and so that's really keeping me on track, and I'm feeling good.
That's good.
I'm happy.
That's awesome.
You know, I'm comfortable. So I definitely think that this is something that within probably the next 30 days we will be moving forward and providing families with a month of free kickboxing training. So,
Wow.
Yeah. It's you know.
A month of free kickboxing? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just excited about, I mean, but something like that, like what I'm going through right now is I'm trying to condition, I'm trying to tone. You know, and I'm trying to release some stress. Like, seriously, I need to find a release other than just running to Marina Del Rey and going to the pier and, you know, just, I mean, I like serene things and calm things too, but I need to do something physically active that's going to help me release, because it's a stress reliever, but then it also, you notice your energy is different because I've been a little sluggish lately.
So have I.
I mean, I've been depriving myself from eating properly, and now my stomach shrunk, so now when I eat, I'm eating these, like, these really
Tiny
itty bitty,
meals. Yeah.
like portions, but that's all, stress related. But if I had something physical that I was doing to really just balance that out and just really, then I'd probably feel better. And like in the morning, I'm really a morning person. But lately, when my kids wake up in the morning, they're excited, they're happy. But the last couple of days, they've been waking up like at least 30 minutes early, and I've been waking up extremely cranky.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're being kids. Like my husband, I was so upset. I was like, they're being loud. Like, go get them, tell them to lay back down. And he just looked at me and he smiled and he said, babe, they're kids. And I'm like, oh yeah. It's just me, being a Krabby Patty and just being overwhelmed and not, filtering my stress as I should. And kickboxing is new for me. Yeah. Now, I've done other sports and other things.
Well, he combines the kickboxing with the yoga. Mm-hmm. So I'll come in one day and we will do yoga. Mm-hmm. And the whole session is stretching. And then the next time I come in, we'll do the kickboxing. And, of course, my favorite part is putting the knee on the bag and punching it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, and I get so tired, and I'm like, you know what?
I wonder whose face is there. No, I'm just kidding. But really.
It's I definitely know that I'm a workaholic. So, I'm not, I'm just like every other parent. Mm-hmm. We find things that will help us relieve stress. So, and I know our lines are blowing up right now.
They are lighting up, and I love it.
We need to get on the subject here.
Yeah, we will. When we come back from our break, we'll definitely start to respond because our topics for today are going to be. I'm going to try, to keep the emotions out of it. But, when you're dealing with something like this, when you're dealing with bullying, for me, that's a touchy subject. But it needs to be addressed. And people need to know, parents need to be exposed to how they should react to that if their child is bullied at school. I mean, it's not just, with just children with special needs that are being bullied, but these are the children, especially dealing with autism, that suffer, from communicating and expressing themselves, that suffer and seem to internalize these things. And so
it'll be really interesting because, you're coming from a place of having bullying been taking place, and I'm coming from a place where I've never had to experience it. And so, or if it was experienced, I didn't recognize it as bullying, but at the same time, I'm very, very proactive in Joey's education and proactive, in his schooling and, with making the visits and going on the field trips. And, it's a different light for me. So this is going to definitely, bring something to me today, and I know the other parents that we have, that they're definitely going to shed light on a problem, which is, not a good situation. We're already dealing with a million things already, but, adding bullying to the list, it's not a good thing. So.
No, it's not a good thing, but there's solutions to all problems, and I'm excited to talk about it, but when you're a mama bear, and don't touch my cubs, there's obviously a way that you go about it that's not so aggressive, but it's still, you need to make sure that you follow through with what you're determined to get done about it. That's important.
And at the same time, I think even I find myself sometimes, they're also children, and so as adults we look at things a little bit different. And sometimes we just need to take a step back and say, you know what, they're children.
That's right.
They'll usually figure it out in about 5 or 10 minutes. But then I understand where there's children that take it to the 15-minute mark. Those are the situations that, you need help in.
Definitely. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into the Autism Network and in bullying in schools and dealing with autism when we return.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pitbull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to the Urban Autism Network. I'm your host, Tiffany Turner Dukes.
And your co-host, Nico Hester Perez.
And before we went on break, we were discussing a couple of announcements that we had with an event that's going on in Chicago.
Yes, the Autism One conference that's running from May 22nd to the 26th. I definitely encourage all families that have children on the spectrum and are thinking outside the box and inside the box, so to definitely put this conference on their bucket list.
And we also were discussing a topic that is a very touchy subject for me, and but needs to be addressed, that a lot of other families, in all families, can relate to, and that's bullying. And what I've been dealing with my son, Amari, who is 8 years old and on the spectrum, he is high functioning, although he does suffer from some slight, he's very social and very warm, but he still has autism, you know, and it gets the best of him when he gets excited sometimes. And kids that are around him get afraid, or they don't receive him. He can now decipher someone as a friend and not being a friend, but for a while he struggled with that. And then when he was struggling with that, it got really bad. Like he got bullied in the first grade. On the playground, some kids were playing with him, and they're playing a game. Well, some kids were playing a game with him, and he wanted to go on the monkey bars. So where he wanted to go and switch games, I guess those kids didn't want to receive him very well. Now, he plays on the playground. This is when he was in transition to mainstreaming. Mm-hmm. I was a little paranoid about that. I mean, I understand academically he was ready, but social-wise, I was just terrified about, you know, how he's going to be received on the playground, because I see it when I take him to the park. Mm-hmm. I see it when kids see him and see that he's, you know, got autism, or he can't pronounce his words correctly, because when he can't speak correctly, he uses jargon. And jargon is kind of like fillers. It's like us saying and but for him it's just like a whole other language. And kids are like, what do you, and back then he had dreadlocks. They're like, oh, does he speak Jamaican? And is he speaking Spanish? What's wrong with him? Why is he talking like that? And then he's not realizing that they're not being his friend until he realizes he's on the slide by himself, or until he realizes that he's swinging with no one to push him. And those are the things that break your heart as a parent when you see them go through that. And at school, it's a whole other issue. Like I said, he was playing with some friends on the blacktop, or some students on the blacktop, and he wanted to change games and go play on the monkey bars, and he got pushed down on it. The pavement was really hot, and he got pushed really hard to where he had like big giant it looked like burns. It looked like he fell off a motorcycle, and I'm not even being dramatic about it. Like his knees were scraped up too. And no one, because he was in a severe handicap class, and the whole class was nonverbal. There was only 2 verbal students in his class at that time. No one asked Amari what was wrong. No one asked him what happened.
Where were the aides?
See, this is that. Okay, I'll get to that. So you're like, that's how I was, and that's exactly why I was so happy that I was a housewife and able to just go to the school and get to the bottom of it. When he got off that bus, I went back up there. But on another note, when I got there, when I saw my son and saw how scraped up he was, and then I went up there to the school to find out what happened. I asked Amari, what happened? He said, Amari does it. He speaks in third person. Amari doesn't have any friends. And I said, well, and by then I'm like trying hard to be strong and just still listen to him. And I said, why don't you have any friends? And he said, first graders and second graders don't like me. And I said, well, why? He said, a kid, and he described the kid and said the kid pushed him. And then I said, there's 2 kids. And I said, okay. And I said, what did they wear? He described them. I said, do you know what class they're in?
Where were the aides?
He said, yes. I'll get to that. So I get to the school, and the principal was actually on her lunch. And her secretary, I said, I need to speak to the principal. And the secretary's like, no, don't go in there. She's hot on lunch. I said, good. Then she'll sit there and listen while she eats. So I actually literally walked in there, sat down. I said, excuse me, I have something I want to address. My son got bullied on the playground, and we want to get to the bottom of who did it and how you're going to go about the discipline. And she said, oh, well, okay, that's fine. She actually put her little salad away, and she's ready to listen and find out what happened. And then I said, and I want to know what your aides are doing on the playground, because if there's 4 aides in this classroom, where were they when this happened? Where were they when this happened, and what are they doing on the playground? Okay, like, are they just talking and not watching? Okay, what's going on?
And
so,
was there ever a lesson? A lesson on going out on the playground, integrating with. I mean,
there was after this. There was after this. I had to press that though. So what I did was I asked her. She said, "Can Amari identify the kids?" She said, "The good thing about our recesses is that there's only 3 classrooms of first graders and 1 classroom of second graders at the same time." So she said, I'll take Amari to those classes and he can identify the students. Well, he did, and the students did admit to pushing him. But the problem was, why didn't anyone ask my son what happened to him? Why did I have to, see it and then come and do something about it? Now, what if I was the type of mother that was busy and didn't have that kind of time? Then it would have got overlooked.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things get overlooked, and they get overlooked because the school districts are running out of money, resources are scarce, and really, when you can find a really good special education teacher and a good staff, you want to keep your child in that class for the rest of their life. Well, I hear it on both ends, but no matter what, when you decide that you want to become a special ed teacher or an aide or anything in that class, then you need to take it very seriously, because I'm a mother just like you who will walk into a classroom and ask the aide, like, where were you? You're the adult in the situation.
And that's exactly what I did. Yeah. So I did. I went to the teacher. I asked her aides, but this was interesting. So the aide actually comes up with this made up story that Amari tripped on his shoelaces on the playground. This is where she got caught up, because
she Amari gone.
No, but listen, no, she's gone. But listen, Amari didn't wear shoes with laces, so that was already a lie. He wore Vans. So I was like, okay, he didn't trip on his laces. He doesn't have any. So what really happened? You weren't doing your part, and I have a problem with it. So the principal saw how irate I was getting and upset I was getting. So Amari identified the students. The students were punished. The students had to write Amari an apology letter, read it out loud to him in his classroom. Then they contacted the parents to tell them how they went about the discipline, and they also got recess detention, which to me, I like that follow through. Yeah. And then they actually held a special respect assembly. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's coming from a principal who really is on top of things.
Yeah, and really cares.
I have been through about 8 school districts, and for the very first time, and Joey's now 14 years old, he's been in school since he was 3. This is the very first time that I have ever felt like he has been in the right place. We were in a class right before this. He was in a program, and he did have a teacher. She was great with Joey. But now I feel like this is where he needs to be. And how I know is when I walk into his classroom, all of the kids come up and they talk to me, and I ask, and so, it not only comes from the class and how the teacher demands, the respect, but, the staff play a huge part, and you were very fortunate that principal stepped in immediately, because I've been in school districts where, you know what, I have to get an attorney, I have to write letters, I have to start playing the documentation game with them in order to get them to comply.
But what I noticed, too, is that I kind of actually, my heart kind of goes out to the schools. You know, the schools that are doing something about it and that are proactive about it, I can appreciate, because I have nothing but time. I will write letters, and I will harass you until something happens. I will. But, you know, everyone doesn't have that in them to do that. But see, the cold part about it is the parents. It starts at home. Are you teaching your children to respect other people? Are you teaching your children not to point? Are you teaching your children not to stare? I used to get popped if I stared. If someone was in a wheelchair and if my eyebrows went up, I got. There was always, my aunt always had this rolled up TV guide, and I would get pulled out of her purse. I would get smacked for that. I mean, and just like a quick reminder, that's rude. Don't stare. That's how I was brought up, and I was also brought up to be patient and to accept people that, you know, were not like me. You know, and don't be mean to people like that. Be accepting. You know, be accepting to people like that. And see, the parents need to be, the parents definitely need to be practicing this at home with their children, teaching their children. You know, it's okay to be friends with someone who's different, because they might, you know, that might end up being your best friend. You know, and just to be nice and just to be accepting. My son actually, Amari ended up being a really, really popular kid at that school. They called him the Michael Jackson kid. He was always doing Michael Jackson moves and things like that. But his sense of humor and how radiant he is what what he made for himself. His own following and his own warmth. But see, if you're being mean, or if your parents are teaching you to stay away from handicapped children, then you're never going to know about that student that could actually, you know, give you something or leave you with something that you need to apply to your social life, or just to be a better person. You know, and self-development, that's a critical age. Like, you know, 8 or 7 years old to about 14. It's really critical.
And that's why, you know, I'm glad we have the caller on the line.
Me too.
We have the... Hello?
Hi.
Hi. We're definitely glad that you were able to speak with us today.
Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to your conversation, and I have a couple of statements. I have a daughter who's 13. She has a multitude of diagnoses, autism being one of them. And, you know, we're the complete opposite. At school, she has never been bullied. In fact, I was really proactive in the very beginning of her starting, you know, she's 13. So when she went into 6th grade, I started thinking, okay, you know, it's really time for her to have some kind of, you know, more socialization. So I went to the principal and I said, you know, are there some 6th graders that you can point out to me that might want to, you know, maybe they're on an honor society or something, and they just might want to do a little something nice for a little girl in special ed. And she said, oh my gosh, I know these little girls. They're wonderful. And it was during an assembly one day. I was at class. The principal introduced these 3 girls to my daughter, and from that point on, they sought her out. Whenever, you know, they try to include our special day class in with all the assemblies and things like that. And every time her class was there, they'd say, oh, can we go sit with her? And they'd look for her at events, and they were the popular girls and the pretty girls and the smart and funny and witty girls, and they embraced her, and it was just so wonderful. And it was it's been such a positive experience. But I think it was really important that we had a really great principal. I think it was really important that we had really great kids who, you know, at picnics I would meet their parents and tell them, you know, thank you so much. Your daughters mean the world to us. I mean, they've made my daughter feel so included and such a part of this school experience. And she comes home and she is verbal, so she does talk about her day and how things went, and she's excited, you know, to go to school and be a part of this thing. Now, the opposite end is that we have bullying at home. You know, my daughter's no angel, and her difficulty is in tantruming. And when she tantrums, she becomes extremely violent and verbally abusive. And we've been through a plethora of caregivers and stuff in our home, because she'll, you know, if they're a little on the portly side, she will be sure and point that out to them in no uncertain terms, and be very verbally abusive when she gets angry, and she will, you know, anything that she can do that to be abusive. When she's in a tantrum, she'll do. She physically hurts herself. She hurts others. She does property destruction. So
She's
in
done
our
everything
neighborhood, when we try to go outside maybe for a little while in the front and another neighborhood kid is walking by and she may be starting to tantrum and we're, physically helping her into the house where she'll be safer and all that. They're seeing this and they're kind of freaking out.
Yeah, yeah.
So one day, we worked really hard on socialization. She's doing great at school. Things are going good. We have these little girls who live across the street. And this one little girl is exactly the same age as my daughter, and then her little sister's, about 5 years younger. So we're looking at like 8 and 12 or so. And my daughter was, one of the things we were working on is her walking her. We have behaviorists in our home. And so when the behaviorist would leave, one of the skills that Sarah was working on was walking the behaviorist to the car and then walking back. Of course, me, peering through the window to make sure that everything's okay. And we live on a cul-de-sac, so I didn't worry about traffic or anything like that. And so out front are these two little girls, and they have this ginormous bag of marshmallows. These huge marshmallows, beautiful, lovely, and they're being a little over-exaggerating about how wonderful these marshmallows are and how, they're so good. And so my daughter's walking out with her behaviorist, and my behaviorist notices it but keeps walking towards the car as they were supposed to do. But Sarah veers off, and she goes over to the little girls, my daughter, and she's looking at them. And they're going on and on about the marshmallows. And she says, wow, those are really nice marshmallows. And they said, oh, yes. And so the behaviorist catching this thinking, uh-oh, here we go. These girls are going to agitate her. She's going to get violent. This isn't going to end pretty.
Yeah.
So the behaviorist kind of walks over, and the behaviorist intervenes and says, wow, Sarah, good job. Those do look like nice marshmallows. We'll have to tell your mom about those. And the girls go, oh, I don't know. My mom got them at a special store.
Yeah. Oh, wow. No.
And now the behaviorist is on high alert.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow. We're going to have a really big problem here.
Yeah.
But instead, she easily lures her away and continues on to the car. Okay, well, thank you. We'll have to look in the ads at Vons or something. Luckily, diverting the attention, and my daughter turns to the girls and says, you have really nice marshmallows, and walks away.
Wow.
And I thought later, I got a phone call from the therapist after my daughter walked from the car into the house and was successful and got big high fives and all that stuff and did a good job of not having a tantrum because these girls were, clearly showing off and bullying her. But it just really made me think, even at home, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Even at home, these are our neighbors.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I started thinking, but then again, they're kids too.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I was, I'm very mindful. Sometimes, I let my son and Joey and Diesel's 4 and Joey's 14. And sometimes they're having, they're fighting over things. And, sometimes I kind of stand back because I know most of the time they're going to work it out. And it seems like that's what Sarah did. She worked it out, and which is a huge, it's huge all the way around. I mean,
that was a really big day.
Yeah,
that is a big day, and that was a big deal. And that's
down here.
but that also means you're making progress too. And that's always a celebration. We're going to take a break, but before we go on break, what was your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Terry, and I'm from Santa Clarita.
Okay, thank you, Terry from Santa Clarita, for dialing in. We're about to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing IEPs. You don't want to miss it.
Oh, yeah, those are fun. Bye.
Bye.
We're back from break. Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Urban Autism Network. I'm your host, Tiffany Turner-Dukes.
And Miko Hester Perez.
Before we went on break, we had a caller that had a very amazing story. Terry from Santa Clarita, thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we really, there's scenarios like that, especially with the neighborhood kids and bullying, and sometimes there's kids that antagonize and tease and things like that. And when you have a child on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, there's a lot of randomness that happens, and you don't know how they're going to respond or react to a situation, and even in how they feel. Sometimes they say, children with autism or classic autism have no emotion, and that's so not true, because that's part of their frustration, not being able to express it or even have a filter to really control the embarrassment, that feeling that you feel when you're embarrassed, or when you feel like you want to disappear and you want to be invisible, but instead of them feeling that way and holding it in, run, because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if they're going to lash out or even hurt themselves or hurt you or hurt someone around them. So, we have, being that the spectrum is so wide, we have a lot of different ways and behaviors that happen when these things take place. Another situation that I wanted to bring up really quick was when Amari got tricked into going to the girls' bathroom. There was a child on the playground. Well, he left class to go to the bathroom, which he doesn't need an aide with him. And there was a child that was a little boy, and he was like, oh, no, you need to go in the girls' bathroom. And Amari told him, no, that's for girls. And he said, no, the boys' bathroom is broken. So he told Amari to go in that one. Guess who catches Amari coming out of there? A yard duty. Exactly. Yeah. So then Amari got in trouble, but he threw a tantrum at the yard duty because he said, he said it's broken. He said it's broken. Who said it was broken? So once again, he knew this kid's name, though. So he said who told him to go in the bathroom. Here we go again. Apology letter. He had to read it to the class, and he had to write Amari a standard. That, to me, I will not tease the special needs children and lie to them about where the bathroom is. And it's like, and then he signed his name and he said, Amari, I'm really sorry. Now, that made Amari feel what compassion is, and feel sincere, and when a person does something wrong, and this is what's supposed to happen. That school, to me, was like the best school
they
were on it, and they totally they really receive not just my son, but if you do something about it, or if you they will back you up. And when Amari got when he had his last IEP there, which we're going to talk about too in a second, his IEPs, when he had his last IEP there, they actually came to the conclusion that he outgrew and was ready for mainstream, because his class environment that he was in, just wasn't for him anymore. And so they wanted to transition him into a different school. And see, now my fear was, is he going to respond with a tantrum, or is he ready? But the tantrums, I'm like, are they going to come back? Right. Are they going to get worse? Is he going to regress? What's going to happen when my son goes into this new environment? But that's where, as a parent, you need to understand growth and appreciate and embrace the growth that's happening. And no, we're not going to always know what's going to happen. We have to just take it with a grain of salt and have faith that it's going to be for the best.
And a lot of times, when we do that, I know as a parent, for me, because Joey has been in special ed since 3 years old, I also wonder, if it's time for him to make a transition. I mean, for Joey, okay, I get it. He's not going to transition anytime soon, but he's going to high school next year. And I didn't think I was going to get this far, but he's going to high school next year. The one program that I accredit just a total success it's called a buddy program, and it's at Joey's school. It's where they have not only a buddy in the elementary that they're in right now, but they have a buddy that's a high school buddy. And the high schoolers get community service for being a buddy to the special needs children, which I think is a phenomenal program. And actually,
I think that's Awesome.
Yeah. I commend the district that we're in.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing an excellent job.
Okay, don't have me move to the OC.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job in treating compassion on both ends. So you have compassionate children that are in elementary school, and you have compassionate children that are at the high school. Because last year we went to prom. Joey went to prom. It's a dance that they have, and I thought every school did this. No, they didn't. And so my daughter and I took Joey to the prom, and my daughter saw some of her high school friends there. And they were like, "Oh my God, your daughter, you know, your brother's in the program." And I took a step back and I said, "This is a effing awesome like program."
Seriously.
You know, whatever they want from me, you know, whatever help or whatever I can do, they have me, you know, because I that type of compassion is not taught everywhere.
No,
and
it's not.
With the CDC being 1 out of 50 and 1 out of 30 for boys, more and more districts need to take on the compassionate route.
Yes, they do.
With mainstream children. And so I definitely commend, you know, Newport Mesa and you know, having one of the best programs that I've ever been a part of. I finally feel like Joey's where he needs to be. But I also hear it on the other end when I have families who contact me from other school districts, from other counties, and I am just like, you need to move, you know? And you know, just the bullying, like I said, I've never had to encounter that, and I think I've been very fortunate that I've never had to encounter it because, you know, I've always, if I didn't approve of a school district or they weren't doing what, I just got up and left. I don't claim to do everything and all things, but when it has something that affects my children, and, you know, a lot of people for a while didn't understand, you know, you don't have to move to get out of a district. I mean, there are certain protocols that are in the IEP and certain, if you want your child to go to, you know, an out-of-school district, there are, especially if you have a reason, and bullying could be one of those reasons.
It's in their best interest. Actually, it's like it's an interdistrict transfer, but they provide the transportation because they have to act and do what's in best interest for your child's safety at this point. So if the bullying doesn't stop, they have to, you know, put your child. The only thing that I find a little bit challenging is that if your child is getting has a curriculum tailored to them, this is what an IEP. It's an individual education plan. So this is your for those of you who don't know what an IEP stands for, individual education plan. And what that does is it is like an assessment that they provide for your child to make sure that your child's needs are met in every aspect of what the disability is that they're dealing with. So if they have behavioral issues, there's a behavioral specialist. If they have speech challenges or things like that, there's a speech therapist. You know, and it just makes sure that your child has everything that they need to function in society and also to learn what they need to learn academically and to get where they need to be as a teenager or even as a grade school. You know, either way, IEPs. And I noticed that they're really not that rare anymore. I mean, you see children that you would think that they're, you know, normal children, and their mom's like, no, my child has an IEP. My child, when you hear that, it's like,
it all falls under certain diagnosis.
Exactly.
And because of that, you know, like I said, with the rise of autism, you know, there's more and more IEPs that are going down, and and because of that, you know, I was just reading an article not too long ago about, you know, not every parent can afford an attorney. Not every parent can afford an advocate. You know, most of the time, you know, at the uf4a.org, I get parents who call me and say, you know what, Miko, how do I write an effective letter? You know, just how do I initiate an emergency IEP? These are all...
I wish I had met you about 6 years ago. I'm telling you, because I was one of those parents. I was at wit's end.
The name of the game is documentation.
Beats conversation every single time.
The name of the game, and that's one of my tips that I tell parents all the time. Little less lip, a little more faxing and emailing.
That's
you
right.
know, and then if you get to the point to where you do need an attorney, there it is.
That's right.
I mean,
you'd be surprised when you say attorney. Watch what the schools do. Watch what. No, seriously.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
Really?
Yeah, because for the very first time, do not need an attorney.
Really?
And I've been through 4, 5, 6 districts and have just plowed through them all by myself. I had school districts just like, their attorney shows up and I show up. And they're out having conferences going, oh crap, this girl, and I have to tell them, CA Corporate and Attorney Services, that's been mine, so, but on the other end, for the very first time, when we got into Newport Mesa, I had, Joey's attorney to come in, and it was the funniest thing because Jeremy looks at me and I look at him and he says, you don't need me, he goes, and I said, I've never, ever been able to say that I don't need an attorney in a meeting or an advocate. I've been very fortunate as well to have some regional center advocates and medical advocates to come in. And so, what I do when a family contacts me is I, give them my resources and tell them, you know what, pay it forward. Right. So, when it's I totally understand now, the districts where they are, it's has to be very, very difficult right now. I know the funding has to be difficult. I have always been a parent to where don't give Joey anything we don't need. I want to save that for the next parent.
That's
but
right.
I have begun to be a little bit more specific when I walk into an IEP meeting. I will go walk into an IEP meeting and tell you,
That's
and
right.
you, I don't need you. Sign off, wave off. Okay, I have 3 issues. And that's one of the things that I also tell parents when they're going into IEP meetings. Give me your top 5 or top 3 issues.
Right.
Okay, and let's narrow it down.
Exactly.
You're not going to walk into an IEP meeting and get everything that you're requesting for.
No.
Okay. What you need to understand is we're coming to the table as a team, but we also have to play the compromising game.
Yes, we do.
And walking into an IEP meeting and leaving the emotions off your shoulder and getting to the body of it.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult. I do have parents who call me and they're, they have 15 million things and I have to stop them and say, hey, this is how it is. Give me the first 3 things and then we can move forward. And then I'm going to tell you how to get these things accomplished. Right. And so an IEP meeting, pretty much, we are walking in as a team, but guess who's the team leader? Right. So, exactly. I guess we call that knowing how to play your position.
Yes. Yeah. Like when Amari had his IEP yesterday, I noticed that there's just things that you notice with your child. You notice some emotional differences, like especially if their teacher, they change teachers, I have to have a sub.
Oh, yeah.
And Amari's teacher is on leave of absence right now. Oh. So because she's on LOA, I've noticed his homework he completes it. It's correct, but it's very sloppy. So the new teacher she's learning her students, okay? She's learning all of them individually, but that's going to take a while. And see, his teacher's gone, so she used to get on Amari really bad, like, about his penmanship. So he used to be very, like, accurate and very neat, and now his work looks a little rushed, and his letters are crammed together, and I'm like, okay, his sentence structure is there, but, it's penmanship, you might... So these are we're setting new goals and benchmarks and things like that. What I am pleased with, though, is that he's met and exceeded his benchmarks from the last IEP. So I'm excited about that. Now the paranoia comes in as my son, adjusting to the new teacher.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with this new teacher who's learning him, and he knows what he can get away with her now, but is she going to put her foot down, or is she going to, how is this going to work? So that's my
That's
fear.
so funny. That's us.
Yes.
That's us in our mom state, our adult mind. Our children actually exceed far more than what we have expected because we don't want to let go. And that's just being a regular mother.
Yes, indeed.
If it doesn't work out, you can always change it. You can
true.
always fix it. And
that's true. And then there was another thing that it came up with the. He said that kids are saying cuss words playing. He loves handball. That's his thing. And he's like, Mommy, the kids keep saying cuss words every time we're in line. And so we brought that up. And the principal, what I love about this school is the principal is really involved. Like he engages, and he really gets in there. He gets involved too. So he said, we're going to have, what we're going to do is we're going to start to have a duty person that just monitors the handball court and pretty much supervises what goes on because it just gets so heated. They said that's like the most drama game out there on the playground. It's handball. It's like, he said, it's not just special needs. It's all mainstream. It doesn't matter. Handball is just one of those sports that get them all riled up. And, what I can appreciate is that this principal came to me and asked me if I knew what positive affirmations were. And I said I do, and Amari does practice positive affirmations. He said, I want to take you on a tour around my school to let you know how I teach our students and how it's posted. Literally, there's posters about affirmations, and these are work exercises that are in the classrooms because he cares about his children's emotions, and he cares about them being positive to other people. So he's like, I'll definitely, I'll watch that now on, from now on. And then he's like, and this is what else we're doing, and I'm like, that's awesome, because when you know someone, it's like game recognized game. I know about the affirmations, but not everybody understands those or knows what those are.
And that's what I mean.
And
when you
that's
get to
huge.
a school district and you have a principal and you have a staff that is compassionate, that is willing to work, where you walk into an IEP meeting and you feel like, hey, I just saw you guys yesterday.
Right.
Or, because that's how I feel. Now, Joey's teacher will send home an IEP meeting and I don't get that tense, feeling like, oh, crap, I got to go to this meeting. I'm like, you know what? I just talked to her yesterday. We've already squared that away. A lot of things I try to complete before I get to the meeting. And that's another tip that I also tell parents. If you can, try to have them send you the goals 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, or have, get a lot of stuff out of the way so you're not doing a 3-hour IEP meeting. Most of the things can be resolved with a simple letter. You sign it off. I keep it really, really real. And I tell them, look, I'm more impressed with vocational. This goal doesn't make sense. This goal, you know what? Does this? And I'll actually ask my daughter as well. What do you think? You think Joey can do this? Or you think? And so it becomes not so scary, because I do speak with parents, and the IEP meeting is like a big cloud.
It could be. It just depends on, what your child struggles with, what the strong and weak points are of your child.
There are far more people that are calling saying that they have a horrible IEP meeting than they're calling and they're saying, like you and I, we had a good IEP meeting.
Well, we have to. The meeting actually wrapped in 45 minutes, and that was because I went in there with you said 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
About 3 days prior, the teacher called me, the sub teacher and the teacher. They called me and they emailed me and they called me and they said, is there anything specific that you want to address when we go to the IEP? Because what they're going to do is just print out a whole outline of how to knock it out. And they were so organized about it, and they wanted to connect with me before we went at the big formal conference table. They wanted to connect with me.
In these bigger school districts, they don't have that.
You're right, because the principal mentioned that. He said
in the bigger school districts, it's a lot harder.
500 students at that school.
Yeah.
So he said because it's a smaller school, they get to do that.
It's a smaller district.
Yeah.
And the district has the means to be more custom or more personable with the parent. And we definitely it's great when you can talk and say, hey, I had a cool IEP meeting. I mean, it's a joke in my house because IEP meetings, all of a sudden my neck starts getting tense, but I'm definitely here to let other families know and other parents know there is hope. And you can have a great IEP meeting. Yes. You can walk out of that meeting smiling and fulfilled and knowing that you have made the best plan as a team for your child.
That's right.
And so, but if you don't, you can definitely contact me at ufra.org, and we will figure it out. I mean, we do have, some resources. And I brought this book. It's called, it's a wonderful guide for new parents. I got it at the Autism One conference last year. It's a journey guide from TACA.org.
Okay.
It's you can contact TACA, and I'm sure the 3rd edition has already come out. But it's a great resource guide. I mean, it has attorneys. It has. This is if I have another family, that's just had a child being diagnosed, I would contact TACAnow.org because they have this great resource Bible, which I wish I had. Let me tell you what I had when I started: the Special Ed Composite of Laws, and I got them. I get a. It's a very thick book, but some parents don't know how to go through the book and get the statutes, and I get it. So this book that TACA Now made is a great family guide, great starting guide, and it's when you go to Autism One conference, you get all of these goodies. But this was my goodie last year when I went to the conference Autism One conference. It was receiving this, and so. Like I said, with the diagnosis of autism, we're all a unit, a warrior unit.
Yes, we are. So. And the resources are there. We just, you need to reach out and you need to educate yourself on what's going on. Stay plugged in. Stay tuned into the latest and the greatest, dealing with the new statistics of the CDC statistics being 1 out of 50. Because I think even if you don't, and I say this all the time, even when I'm talking to people about our show, and they say, well, what is that? What is the urban autism? What does that have to do with me? Or why should I come on your show? Well, see, this is the thing. When autism is so common now that you want to educate yourself, you don't have to have that in your life or have that in common to be a part of the awareness and to support the awareness, because it's going to hit you sooner or later. It's going to hit you, unfortunately, sooner or later. And I don't mean you directly. What I mean is it may be someone or a loved one may struggle with it in your lifetime. You will witness that. And you want to just get involved, just to know, just to educate yourself, just to know. And
I've really enjoyed the show today.
Oh, I do too.
I enjoyed the. It's really nice when we can speak freely.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of the outlets that I enjoy speaking freely on, and along with another mother, along with another warrior mother. I want to thank the caller Terry from Santa Clarita coming in.
Thank you, Terry. Awesome story.
And these two subjects, bullying and just the basic IEP tips, is something that will never die.
No, it won't.
It'll be a very continued conversation throughout our Urban Autism Network radio show. What do you think?
I think. And, thank you all for listening, and thank you for your support. And that's our time and our show for today. Tune in next Thursday, 11 a.m., and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.